Why don't you have a beer? A German beer.
Another one.
Another
because
one?
we don't have any refrigerators.
Actually, I spilled my beer tonight, too.
Oh, no.
So you did have a beer.
I had a half a
Was
beer.
it
half a beer.
half a Wesen?
Half on the inside, half on the outside.
It's a half a Weizen. I like that. That was the best joke I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Hello, and welcome to another episode of When Records Ruled, the podcast where we share our love of rock music and pop culture from the 70s and 80s and take a few B-side tracks down memory lane along the way. So get out those liner notes and put out your candy cigarette because it's time to hit the play button. I'm your host, David Norris, and joining me on this flashback musical road trip are my good friends Brian Strom and Lance Schwartz, who needs a light for their next candy heater.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nice. I just saw those in a store recently.
No way.
Where they have all the kind of the retro candy stuff in there, and right up in the counter by the cash register, they had the candy cigarettes.
Wow.
Was it the big yellow barn?
No, it wasn't, but I know they have them.
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
It was
They
at
have
some.
massive variety of those, actually, the Big Yellow Barn
Yeah.
by Jordan. Yeah.
We used to roll, just pieces of paper and then draw like the little ember glowing end of it, and kind of like we were smoking those.
Well, there were actually two different kinds, because there was one that was just like the solid with
Hard,
like the little red, that was hard candy.
Yep.
But the cool ones were the paper wrapped bubble gum that had like a little flower in it.
Yep.
I never had one
And
of
you
those.
could like,
You blow on it
Blow
like
out.
once.
yeah,
Poof, and a little
And it looked
fluff would
like-
come out the end.
because we were trying to get kids to smoke back then,
Yeah.
apparently. Yeah,
all marketed by Big Tobacco, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
that's right. They're all Marlboro candy cigarettes for kids.
Yeah,
They're bubblegum flavored.
that's right.
All right. For today's episode, we will be discussing the album Blackout by the German rock group Scorpions.
The Scorpions.
Scorpions.
Did you say German?
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 Yes. We'll hear what was happening around the time of the album's release, wrap it up with a personal rating of the album, and then we'll end the show with our Remember When segment. So to get us started, Lance is going to give us some details about the album.
Sure thing. As Dave mentioned, this is a German rock band. I'm wondering, have we done a European band yet? Yes. No.
Don't
In
believe
Excess was
so.
Australian.
Australian.
Yeah.
Might be our first
So-
venture into Europe.
Yeah. Here we go.
So Blackout is the 8th studio album by the German rock band Scorpions. It was released in 1982 on Harvest and Mercury Records. I don't know anything about Harvest, but I remember my versions were on Mercury.
Harvest, is that
Mercury,
the,
Is that the European?
Brian's breaking out his single.
Yes.
To double
My-
check.
My German
Some
import.
Max
The
is
German
on
import.
Harvest.
Harvest. There you go.
All right. Learned something tonight. Rolling Stone ranked Blackout as number 73 on their list of the 100 greatest metal albums of all time
Oh, wow.
in 2017.
Who is the producer? Do you have his name down?
Dieter Dierks.
Dieter Dierks. Yeah, I looked him up, and he hasn't done he's done a lot, but nothing I really recognize. He did produce a lot of Accept albums.
Yeah, that was the one I saw.
And they're a
looked up
German
too.
band as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
And Twisted Sister, he did come out and play.
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah. So but other than that, the other bands I didn't really recognize. But
he did a lot of
tons
Accept,
Scorpions.
Tons of Scorpions.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know that towards the end of him producing the Scorpions, I think they were commenting like, we were just getting a little too familiar, and, paths needed to diverge, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, and after the end, it was amicable, I think, in the end. So,
Yep.
all right, to give us an even better frame of reference, Brian's going to enlighten us with some information and fun facts on what was happening around the time the album was released. Brian.
Which was March 29th, 1982. The top bands of the time: Air Supply, The Cars, like we talked about last week, Rick Springfield, Van Halen, and Kenny Rogers.
That's a decent list.
It is.
Yeah.
Listen to all of them.
Yep.
Top songs. Number 3 of this week, We Got the Beat by the Go-Go's,
Yes.
Open Arms by Journey,
Also good.
and I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Awesome.
For me, those are some crazy high school memories right there.
Yeah.
Or grade school if you're
Grade
younger.
school.
Yeah.
Because you're older.
You guys know I'm a little older than you.
Yeah. But how much,
had to get that in there.
Lance?
Just a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Top movies. Oh, no, I'm sorry. TV shows. Top TV shows.
Okay.
Dallas, Three's Company, The Love Boat,
Yes.
One Day at a Time, and That's Incredible. And who can name our hosts from That's Incredible?
John
Davis?
Davis.
Oh, John
Sarah
Davis?
Purcell. Was she one of them?
No.
No. Fran Tarkenton.
Fran Tarkenton?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But who was the female?
I think it was.
Sarah Purcell was
No, it
real
wasn't.
people. Fran Tarkenton.
All right. Well, we're going to think
John
about this one.
Davis. And
All right.
Hello,
It's going
Google.
to come in the middle of the podcast.
Klaus Meine.
Yes. In the middle of the podcast, I'm going to burst it out.
I'm just going to throw it out there. Yep.
I will say those TV programs are all in the sweet spot of
Yes. Yeah.
classic TV.
Yep.
Right.
And for those fans of classic TV, get yourself, there's an app called Pluto. You can watch every one of those every day if you'd like.
Even That's Incredible, you
I
think?
wonder, do you think,
Probably.
did you think the Scorpions showed up on the Love Boat at all?
If you say yes, that would be freaking awesome. No, they're too hard rock.
I know.
They weren't easy listening enough to be on the Love Boat.
I wouldn't
name
know.
is-
I don't think I've watched that show that much.
Her name is Kathy. Kathy.
Kathy Lee Gifford. No, it's kidding.
That's what I keep popping
That's
in my-
Kathy Lee? Maybe just Kathy Lee.
No, don't cheat, Lance. Don't
Oh,
cheat.
I was going to look it up.
nuts.
I was starting to do that too.
Okay, top movies. Blade Runner,
Good movie.
Conan the Barbarian,
Okay movie.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Good movie.
Annie,
Never saw that one.
and Tron.
Tron.
Tron was cool. Journey had
Yes.
some original music in Tron.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What the heck? Now I got to go back and
I'm trying to think of the song. That's going to come.
Only
to me.
Solutions.
Only Solutions.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's got
Appropriate.
a cool. Yeah.
Yeah, this was about the time their video game came out too.
wait, was it when they were in the arcade that was like kind of playing in the background?
Probably.
Yeah. I can't go that deep.
Okay.
Right
Yeah.
now.
Top toys. Barbie Bubble Bath. Silly Putty.
Silly Putty rocked.
The General Lee car from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Wow.
I had that one. Had
You did, really?
Good
Big
size one. Yeah.
Metal?
No, plastic.
Okay. I didn't know if they made it metal.
Yep. And Legos and E.T. toys and figurines.
Sure.
Just scare the crap out of your kids.
Yes.
Did you guys ever take your silly putty and
Yes.
go to the
Comics.
comic section?
Yes.
And, yeah. Look at that.
That was fantastic.
That's the only
Yeah.
place you could get color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then your silly putty turned darker gray.
Yes.
And you're like, oh,
Yep.
it's not new anymore. Did you ever use it as a bouncy ball too?
Yep.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
All over
Or
the
a
place.
weapon.
Please explain.
No, you just roll into a ball and you throw it at somebody.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like using it like little pea shooters or something, or
Ooh.
like, like a bolo or something. Like you'd stretch it out and whip somebody.
Did you throw it at the record player in class? And
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't
Oh,
paper
wow.
wads.
That
little
would've been-
little bits of.
Little silly putty.
Because then they'd bounce off. And yeah.
Man, time machine. Ooh,
Totally.
That's brilliant, Lance.
All right, guys, let's say we turn the lights down real low. Whatever, just turn them all the way off because it's time we dive into the Scorpions album, Blackout. Can we briefly talk about the cover on this album? Because it's a very striking self-portrait by, you guys know the artist?
No clue.
Lance?
I did look it up.
You did?
Gottfried Helnwein.
Helen Wine, yes.
Is he known for anything else?
He was a somewhat famous artist, but he's very like avant-garde.
Yeah.
Some very almost disturbing images he created.
Well, like this cover.
Like this cover. This is pretty tame actually
Yeah.
compared to some of the other things he was doing. But I looked it up to try and find that one particular image in like his collection or whatever. But I found one that was close. But then I found like his contact sheet of all the images he made during that little session. There's 108. So I'll post that on our social so you can see them all. And if you can find the exact one, they modified it a little bit and like rotated it and then added the glass in there and the lettering.
Oh,
obviously.
okay.
So the glass wasn't part of it, but and it's a black and white. So they colorized it as well.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, yeah.
Did you mention is that photo?
Yeah.
It's a self-portrait
Yes.
or painting.
Yeah, it's a self-portrait.
Yeah.
It's photography. He was into photography.
Which is crazy because does this not look like Rudolf Schenker?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Like big time.
Yeah.
I always thought it was him probably because of the video.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
And you're looking at it and it's like he's a spitting image of him.
So the video for No One Like You, he portrays Helmline in there and he smashes a guitar.
Right.
Yeah.
So I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, that's him on the cover.
Yeah. No, so the music video for No One Like You, have you guys watched that recently?
No.
I did.
What do you think of it?
Well, see, I grew up in that area. So to me, it was
it'd be very cool.
Like
Right near the bay.
4th grade, we had a field trip. We took a field trip out to Alcatraz. And
It's on Alcatraz. Cool.
Yeah, it's in Alcatraz. So,
I've been to Alcatraz. Have you been there, Dave?
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Yeah. So that was always cool to me. It's like, oh, I've been there. I've been in those. So, but otherwise,
you would just say, just talking about the video
another little tidbit, the little person who drags him away when he smashes the guitar and everything.
Yeah.
I have his autograph.
Really? And how did you get that?
My uncle was at some bar and somehow he was there and somehow he got an autograph from him and gave it to me.
And he said, you know,
and
who
he signed
this
it.
is?
I don't even know who the guy's name is, but he signed it MTV Star.
That's awesome.
I looked up the credits because there's a priest in there who's walking with Klaus Meine down.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the video is basically like a dream. We find out in the end of him being on death row or in Alcatraz and getting an electric chair and a lady coming to visit him because there's no one like you.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And he wakes up at the end. But there's a priest walking with him and he looks so familiar. So I looked it up on IMDb. Hardly anyone else is credited but the band for being in the video. So I don't even know who it is, but he looks really familiar like I've seen him in some of their movies. Somebody else knows, please comment.
I don't know.
Put me out of my misery so I can sleep better at night.
I thought it was funny how he kept sneezing.
Yeah.
They're walking down and he turned his head and sneezed. And
the blonde girl and the blonde woman in the movie or in the video.
Yeah.
Do you recognize her from any other videos?
She looked familiar, but I couldn't put a finger on it.
The Huey Lewis in the news video for If This Is It.
Wow.
She's the blonde friend of the main character.
That's her.
Huey Lewis breaks up with. Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that, a review of that album coming up here shortly, aren't we?
Yeah.
Is that on sports?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, the video struck me as very mediocre.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the band literally has about 5 seconds in there.
Yeah.
Just in their jail cells as he's walking by.
But I mean,
that's it.
The opening shot is like a really wide shot of this limo pulling up on a pier.
Yeah.
And ending on this little end of the pier by a boat.
Okay, that's 30 seconds. Okay, guys, we got
it's literally 35 seconds because it took so long. It's just so slow moving. It's just a very mediocre video.
Well, this is 1982.
Yeah,
videos are new.
Yes,
trying to figure out,
and there's so many kind of like that. Well, I mean, some of the other videos too. I mean, they're just very weird in their construction and what they're using for props and stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So you're like, ooh, they're kind of cringy now to look back on.
It's funny how some of those videos too, they were very literal. I mean, they took like whatever they said in the song, we're going to do a shot that shows them doing this in the song.
Yes.
Is it the same pier that Journey recorded Separate Ways?
It's not, but yeah.
In the same area.
Yeah, same area.
A few questions for you before we talk tracks. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion of the Scorpions in the world of hard rock? Because Brian, I'm guessing this is pretty high on your list of like bands you like because of some pretty sweet guitars going on and they're clean.
Yes.
They're super clean when they play. Mm-hmm. It's going to be right up your alley.
It is. Love the guitar work. You get lots of the chug-a-chug, which is kind of fun.
The chug-a-chug.
Yeah.
That'll go on a shirt.
I think I've chug-a-chugged before.
You were chugging before you came in recording.
Thinking of something else though.
Now I don't know if I can't tell who's playing what guitar or like who's taking a solo and who's not taking a solo. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But both incredibly talented guitarists.
I think they use the twin leads just as well as any band that I've ever heard. And I love when they do the dual solo, which pops up quite often in some of their work. And I appreciate what you say about being clean. It's that's the best way to describe it.
It's almost kind of the start of heavy metal in a way. I mean, I think they're kind of on that front end of that sound.
Well, they started in the 60s.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you listen to their early albums.
Yeah.
Wow.
For our listeners, you should
different.
Go back and listen to the early stuff, and you will not recognize this band at all.
Very different.
Sounded very almost, like kind of the end of the 60s.
Oh, wow.
It's quite different. So you can hear them kind of.
Lonesome Crow, I think that was their first one.
Their sound honing over the years.
Yes.
And around, the Out Love Drive, I think was kind of the first one. They had a couple songs that sounded like this, where you could tell
we're narrowing in on something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like that album. It's a good album.
Yep.
Saw them on that tour. I think we talked about that once.
Yeah.
But this was kind of their breakout album. This is when where they really started to take off. With No One Like You was kind of the big
to
one.
Mass audiences, I would agree. Right. I think The Zoo got a pretty fair amount of airplay, but it was not a top 40 single or anything like that.
You said this one went platinum. It probably went platinum
a couple years after
Love At First Sting came out, and then probably people started going back and buying more of this, which did that. I don't think any of the previous albums went platinum.
You're kind of leading my question.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Is this the first album you'd recommend someone listening to the Scorpions for the first time? I maybe worded that weirdly, but if it's
I
you
think
had to recommend
would.
an album with the Scorpions, is this the one you'd recommend for somebody hearing for the first time?
I would, because it's right in the middle. I think they were building up before this, and then they kind of took off a little more after this. So I think it's a good middle ground with their sound.
It's a little more refined, but you can't get too more refined than the way they sound on Animal Magnetism in this album. But I think for me, the peak of their recording. I'm not a big fan of their ballads, although they have one on here that was, I think, a prequel to their big ballads after this, Wind of Change, and what was the other? Anyway,
Still Loving You,
exactly. So I would agree.
Not a fan of Still Loving You.
I'm not big on ballads, not these types of ballads.
All right.
So I think it definitely would be the first that I would recommend. And then I'd go to Animal Magnetism. I really like that album.
Yeah, because I think, the couple albums before this are good, and this is good, and then a couple after this, it's kind of, this is right in the middle of that, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
The sweet spot?
Yep.
For sure.
How's Klaus Meine for a lead man and a lead singer? Is he a little underrated?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's got a very pure voice.
Yeah.
I think it's an excellent voice, and it's aged really well if you've heard him recently.
Yeah.
Have you heard their latest album?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. He sounds amazing for his age. I hate to be, I don't know if that's ageist or not, but I mean, he's taken really good care of his voice.
Yeah, totally.
I was thinking like Rob Halford when we saw Judas Priest recently, and he's taken really good care of his voice. He's 80, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
not quite, but yeah.
But yeah,
Rob Halford
hitting those highs.
He's going to be pretty close in age.
Really, really unique voice.
Klaus is 75.
And I think there's some really good, what's the right word? Harmony singers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Not backup singers. They harmonize really well together.
Yep.
And that's, I think, one of the first things I noticed about the Scorpions when I got Animal Magnetism, because some of that is on there as well. And it reminded me, it's not quite the same as, a Boston, or REO, the way they harmonize, but it's pretty close for hard rock. I thought they really were great singers, and still are.
So I read this, just kind of a little review from, I don't even know the guy's name, Rock Music Raider. He described this as, here's the question. Is this metal or is this hard rock?
Yeah, that's an age-old question for a lot of bands, isn't
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think we can really answer that, can we? I mean, they put them in the hard rock category, I think.
Yeah. I would put him more in the hard rock category. But anyway, here's what this guy said about the album. He said their method of operation to move fast, play crisp, and spicy, no-nonsense riffs and inject sturdy solos whenever appropriate works really well. Together with intense, high-pitched vocals, they created a tune that remains irresistible to this day.
That's a dead-on review, though.
I know.
That's like them to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Those high-pitched vocals.
Yes.
Good writer. Guy's a great writer.
Yeah.
So speaking of harmonies.
Yeah. Klaus Meine was not able to harmonize for a while preparing for this album. He had to actually undergo surgery on his vocal cords and wasn't even sure if he'd be able to record the album. So the band turned to a backup singer. Get this, Don Dokken recorded some of the demos for this album. And of course, none of those recordings have ever seen the light of day. And Dokken, although was involved, is credited with some of the backing vocals on the album.
I still want to hear those.
That would be really fun to hear.
Yeah.
I should look and see if those exist somewhere. Somebody's leaked those maybe, I hope.
Oh,
It'd be fantastic.
And another tie-in with Dokken, the drummer, what's the drummer's name? Anyway, he released an album in
Herman Rarebell
in about 83 called Herman the German and Friends. And on this, he has his friends, and one of his friends is Don Dokken, who sings lead vocal on a couple songs.
Probably because of this.
I would guess
Probably
so.
gotta be.
Yeah.
Herman the German.
Herman
Z. German. Check it out. He
Little local tie-in, but we don't have to go there.
He has a cool version of Wipeout on there too.
You were talking earlier about whether they are hard rock or metal. There is a festival they played in May of 83. And on the day they were playing, it was credited as like the heavy metal day for the US Festival.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That lineup, by the way, which sounds completely fantastic.
Yeah.
Starts with Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, Ozzy Osbourne, Judas Priest, Triumph, Scorpions, and Van Halen is the headliner.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
To be there.
Yeah, right?
That was 500,000 people at that.
It's just crazy.
Van Halen set the Guinness Book of World Record for
that was the
most
concert
paid for one show.
That was like over $1 million.
$1 million, yeah.
I remember reading that in the Guinness Book of World Records book.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wow, these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
That's about 475,000 more people than I'd want to be at a show.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
It's hot. You're out in the open air. Oh.
Yeah, I read
there's lots of footage out there of that.
They said it was like one of the hottest weeks of the summer.
I actually have a documentary somewhere of that.
Oh, really?
Heavy metal day. It's really cool.
That would be cool to watch. Watching party sometime.
I'd really like to get a clear definition of what is heavy metal and what is hard rock. On that list you just gave, I'm
Triumph, would you consider them?
No, that's
metal?
hard. That's hard rock.
Yeah, that's hard rock.
Yeah, but Priest.
Yeah,
I think that's metal.
Yeah.
You know,
Van Halen.
No, that's hard rock. That's almost pop rock.
Quiet Riot.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're probably in the, heavy metal at that time was, it was kind of the thing. So
yeah.
And what the other days that they had these festivals, they were named.
They had a rock day, not hard rock day,
right.
Rock day.
Yeah.
And I didn't look up.
Whereas I think that was like the Clash, maybe the Stray Cats. So that kind of music. So yeah, I think Scorpions are hard rock, but
they
taste of metal.
Every once in a while, and maybe when we get into some of these songs, you say, yeah, that could be metal.
Has anybody ever seen the Scorpions live?
Yes. Yeah. Me.
When did you see them?
1979.
Okay.
What album was out?
Love Drive.
Was Love Drive
Yeah.
tour, huh?
There was
cool.
First, in fact, were they the first band I ever saw? I can't remember the order of bands, but they were the first concert I ever went to. Yeah. And they were an opener at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I was reading on Rudolf Schenker. He was
Lead guitarist.
the lead guitarist.
Well, actually, rhythm/lead.
Yeah, that's why I said you don't know who's doing what between the two of them. But his what is it, tremolo bar?
Yeah.
So those used to go out of tune all the time. So he met Floyd Rose, who gave him his new invention of the
Floyd tremolo.
The Floyd tremolo.
Wow.
And he was on tour. They were on the West Coast. He needed to go up to, they were doing a concert up in Canada. So that he wasn't able to bring his guitar with him because he had to leave it behind so he could put this new tremolo bar in his guitar. So he didn't have it for like a week. So he's coming back from Canada. He gets his guitar. The first show he does with his guitar with his new tremolo bar that is going to stay in tune is in St. Paul, Minnesota.
On August 4th or so, 1979?
It was around 79 or 80, somewhere in there.
Well, that's probably the show I was
it was
at.
probably the show you were at
Wow.
where he had his new guitar with that tremolo and he could keep it in tune.
I think I could tell, too.
I was going to say, how did it sound?
Yeah, they were great. You got a little spot on the stage. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Because they were an opener, you know.
Yeah.
Yep. Before they peel back the layers for the headliner.
Yes.
So I saw them in 1988 on the Monsters of Rock tour with Van Halen, and they were outstanding. They were very fun. You know, they all get together in front and do their back and forth with the guitar thing. And
Yeah.
that was so cool.
Did they do the little pyramid?
They did the pyramid at the
Nice.
end. Yeah. Klaus went to jump up onto the metal steps going up to the drum riser, and he fell. I remember that.
Everybody gasp,
Oh, yeah. It was like, oh, but he carried on.
jumped back up, and
Yep.
then jumped off the riser.
Yeah, he did. So I'd say my brother saw them in 85, which would have been at a day on the green, and he brought me a t-shirt, which you might see in a picture a little bit later.
Sweet.
It's awesome.
I wasn't cool enough for him to go along with him with his high school friends, but cool enough that he surprised me by buying me a t-shirt.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Yeah.
Should have been cool enough, but you know,
Should have been.
older brothers
Yeah,
sometimes
his older
don't.
brother, he's
Yeah.
as old as Lance. So
Yeah. Whoa. So super old.
yeah.
I'm a little older than you guys.
Yeah. Did anybody buy this album when it came out?
Yes. Oh,
You
yeah.
did?
Yeah.
No, this is, I have, I bought Animal Magnetism and Savage Amusement.
Okay.
I didn't buy this album, but I heard a lot of songs from it. So I think, again, I must have had a friend who had it or just heard a lot of songs out the album
That's
on the
how I
radio
got it.
around.
Yeah. I had a friend who had it, Mike Casperson, and I was like, hey, can I borrow your Blackout record? He's like, sure. I took it. I had it for a long time.
He didn't ask for it back right away.
Not right away, but finally he's like, hey, when are we going to get that Scorpions album back? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I gave it back, and then I went out and bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bought this and Animal Magnetism within a couple of weeks of when they came out.
Yeah.
I was really into them.
Yeah.
All right. Should we talk some tracks? Mm-hmm. All right. I'll go through them and we can circle back and talk about each one individually if we have some notes for those. All right. Side one, Blackout. Can't Live Without You. No One Like You. You Give Me All I Need. Now. And then side two, we flip it to Dynamite, Arizona, China White, and When the Smoke is Going Down. So, Brian's favorite thing, we start off with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
And this does not disappoint with Blackout.
Powerful opener.
Yeah. Very distinctive riff.
Yep.
Features that real crisp playing.
Yes.
I mean, the guitars are incredible. And Klaus Meine sounds as good as he's ever sounded as a lead vocalist, in my opinion.
Yeah. And after he had his surgery.
Yeah.
I mean, did he probably come back stronger than he was before he had the surgery? Was it some sort of kind of bionic surgery?
It's kind of like the pitchers getting the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
come
right.
back and strong.
I mean,
Yeah,
it really
I agree.
does seem like it.
Yeah.
Because there is, I mean, Animal Magnetism and this one vocally are maybe kind of similar, but I think he's a lot stronger on this one.
More, should I say, deliberate, more little more forceful in his vocals.
Yeah.
Confident.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you wouldn't think you'd be confident coming out of surgery on your
Right.
vocal cords when that's my job.
Yeah.
Possibly felt like he had something to prove.
Maybe.
Maybe was threatened.
Don Dokken was standing in the wings.
Yep, he was threatened by Doc, and
I don't want to lose my job.
let's see who won that one. I think Klaus Meine is still going strong,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Mr. Dokken probably
Dokken,
not so much
He
anymore.
just could not cut a good break, actually.
Yep.
The guitars on this, the whole album, really. I mean, there's lots of little solo bits they throw in there, which, I mean, I didn't hear until after a Van Halen album came out. So I'm thinking there's a lot of influence on there. You can hear a lot of influence in just the style of playing, I think.
Especially when we get to the next song.
Yeah.
I actually made a note of that. I'm like very Eddie vibe in this
Yes.
one.
Also, I thought, there's a little bit of Judas Priest influence. I kind of sensed on this too. And I don't know if it's just because of the dueling guitars or just having two guitars. It just kind of made me
Probably
think
both.
of them.
I think they had toured together too.
Oh.
A little before this album. So
Well, we know they played together at the US Festival in
Yeah.
83, but
yeah.
What was
I
the
don't know.
word you used before? Chugging?
Chugging? Yeah.
the chugs.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's that driving beat. That
Yeah.
yeah. It's cool.
So the Blackout title for the album came from not Klaus, but Rudolf Schenker partying with some of the boys. I think he was with Def Leppard and some of those guys, and they were doing a lot of drinking. And then he's explaining this to one of the other bandmates that all of a sudden he just doesn't remember anything that happened. And they're like, well, you had a blackout. He's like, I had a what? You had a blackout. He's like, well, that's a great name for a song.
You really had a blackout.
Yes. And
You
so
really had
We're
a
writing the
blackout.
song
they
right
wrote
now.
the song.
I did not know that, but I can believe it.
Yep.
I did not know that either. Can't Live Without You.
Yeah, here's where we're talking the big Eddie vibe
Yeah.
in this song.
I'd have to listen to it, but it okay.
His little fills that he gets in there
Sure.
are very, very Eddie-like.
Very Eddie-like.
Yep.
Also, this is the one that really hit me, that they have such good in-concert songs for crowd appeal.
This is a total, yeah.
This is Can't Live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're talking about the fans. The
Yeah.
song is about the fans.
But I mean, it just participation. Maybe
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the better word.
Okay, yeah.
Audience
Oh, I see what you're saying,
participation
yeah.
songs. They have so many that are really good audience participation sing-along choruses. And this is one of them.
And
Yeah.
I think as good as their albums sound in the studio, they might even be a better live band because their sound is a little more full
Yeah.
and in your face, which is true of a lot of bands.
Right.
But if you listen to them live,
Yeah.
man, they sound great.
But this one, I mean, with the lines of, throw your hands in the air so we can see you are there and playing your imaginary guitar. I mean, it's to the fans.
They're appealing.
Yep.
I watched a live performance from that US Festival in 83 of 3 different songs. And you're right, Lance, even for the audio quality back then, they still sounded amazing and tight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tight.
Tight. And
Well, by this time
great
they've been
vocals.
playing together for 10 years.
Yeah. In watching them, move around so much, they kind of reminded me of like when you were talking about Van Halen, just constant movement, just
Yeah.
constant showmanship. And all of them looked like it was just so effortless.
Yeah. Yep.
It's so entertaining. So I
Right.
can see them being really good in concert. I didn't actually get to see them, but
Yeah.
Man, they look good in their spandex.
yeah.
They were a spandex band.
Well, who didn't?
What?
Me.
Thank you, Lance.
No One Like You. Let's move on.
Their big song. I mean, this is the one that
Yeah.
really broke them, I think, in the U.S.
This is the only single from the album
Only
in the
single
US,
released, yeah.
right?
Which is interesting. I mean, we'll talk a little bit later, a song down the line here that I think should have been released as a single.
Oh, okay.
This song, with the twin leads at the beginning, the opening of that song is memorable to me. One of those that brings back memories. It's a top 5 Scorpion song for sure, if not maybe top 3. It has aged really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a classic. I love it.
I love how it's just, you hear that drum right in the beginning, that doom, and then it just goes right into those kind of wailing guitars. It's like,
You said classic. That's my first note on here. This is classic Scorpions.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than this, does it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I agree. I mean, if I had to pick out a song besides maybe one or two that we will talk about later, I would want to hear this song. If they left it out of the set list, it'd be the biggest disappointment in the world.
Right.
And they probably know that.
I'm sure they do.
Yes.
They're all about the fans.
And this is like, one of the songs on here that's kind of the boilerplate. This is the template for carrying things forward in the next albums for that sound, right? I mean, this is like the pinnacle sound here.
And the iconic...
iconic, that's a better word for it, actually.
The solo in that, too, is pretty iconic. I mean, it's very recognizable.
The chorus, another crowd participation moment.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you go through these,
fists in the air,
they're bigger songs. You're like, they always have a good crowd participation chorus to them.
I think
most all of them.
My son Matthew was listening to this song and he says, boy, that chorus is kind of repetitive, isn't it?
It's meant to be.
Yep. Yes.
Well, so you can learn it fast and then you can participate in the sing-along.
There you go. It's easy. If you never heard the album and you just went to a concert, I mean, you're going to be singing along.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that easy. All right, moving on to You Give Me All I Need.
It's a decent metal ballad, but for me, I wouldn't say it's a throwaway, but I don't think it's anything special.
It's the most bluesy song on the album, I think.
Yeah.
You mentioned ballads too. I only have two of their albums, but they're a big ballad band.
Yeah, they usually have a couple.
Yeah.
But those are some of their most popular songs.
Especially later after this album.
Wind of Change.
Yep.
Well,
Holiday, Still Loving You, Send Me an Angel, Believe in Love. They end most of their albums.
I was just going to say, it's typically the last song.
Yeah.
Holiday. Yeah.
After I noticed that on a couple albums, I'm like, oh, I wonder how many albums they end with a ballad. Most all of them end with a ballad. Yep. And I thought, why would they do that? But also, I thought that it was kind of like a decompression from all the other super quick, fast songs that they have on there.
I think another thing too is there was always these were big songs for them, these ballads. It's at the end of the record. It makes somebody listen all the way through.
How about Now?
Moving on to Now.
Now is, in my opinion, wow. It is
wow.
In your face.
Fast and furious.
It really is.
Driving. Punky. Almost a little punkish.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
I agree. I like it. It's a cool song. It's over before you know it. Obviously, it comes in at about 2.5 minutes.
Yep. Another one for the fans. All right, guys. Yeah. Now. Repeat after me now. Now.
They can't keep up. It's just try your best.
I think it moves right into. We talked about maybe is there any groupings on this album earlier, and it moves right into the second side, even though you have to flip the record to get the second side. But both of those are very, as the kids say, bangers.
Yes. All the kids are saying that.
With Dynamite following that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very similar songs, very fast.
Opening the second side, right?
Yep.
Makes sense.
With a bang.
Yep. I think they used to close their shows with this song.
With Dynamite?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. They're still touring, right?
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As they were going to hang it up probably 8-10 years ago, but came out with a killer new album and are still playing. I'd love to go.
Dynamite, I think for me, the drums stood out on this song more than some of the other ones. Some of the little drum fills and that sort of thing.
Herman Rarebell?
The German.
Herman the German, yes. I think you're spot on, Brian. Those drum fills. Actually, you're talking about Eddie guitar licks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little Alex Van Halen in those drum fills too.
Maybe.
I think
maybe
the way they're structured.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Who couldn't be influenced by Van Halen by this time?
Yeah,
yeah. And speaking of which, I mean, this is one of those bands that really did their time, you know, to get where they were and evolved over time. Because we talked about this in a previous episode where some of these modern bands, you know, they may be playing a while, but it's not like 10, 12, 15 years before they really hone their sound and get big and can handle it too.
Right.
Yeah. And they have some longevity. And most of those bands that have kind of done that time and gotten big in their sales have more staying power.
Yeah.
I think.
Right. They're still out there doing it.
Yeah. Like the Scorpions.
And they weren't, we talked about this earlier too, where in the 80s, you got to this point where bands were going platinum all the time. I mean, that was just kind of expected. And 1 million records is a huge number, but because everyone was kind of getting those, it didn't seem like that big of a deal. But that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
And the Scorpions, you know, it wasn't until their 10th album or whatever that they finally sold 1 million records. The ones prior to that, you know, if they were going gold, that was big too.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem big. And so to me, it's like bands seemed like they should have been more popular than they were, but their sales weren't really showing it. But I don't know. It's just kind of one of those weird things.
Were they as big in Germany as they are in the United States?
No idea.
And are they the biggest German band?
They're I think I read up that they're the biggest European hard rock band.
Yeah, I believe that.
Kind of in that category.
Well, they knew if they were going to be big, they had to make it in America.
Yeah.
So they learned English so that they could become an English band. Because otherwise they went, and you can really hear his accent in these songs. When you really listen to him, you hear that German accent.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
You know, and speaking of that, I always thought they had just a slight different flavor to them in their rock, kind of because of that. Mm-hmm. And it made you think like you're listening to something just a little special, a little more special than some of the American rock bands who are their peers.
Right.
And I always thought they just kind of had that a little more unique sound to them. And that's what attracted me, I think, initially. Like, well, these guys just sound a little different than everybody else, even though it's, you know, hard rock and everybody had similar guitar sounds, but they just had a little something extra, special sauce there.
I mentioned it before, but I really digged their harmonies on Animal Magnetism.
Yeah.
And that was probably what attracted me, besides the real clean playing. But you mentioned they were probably one of the biggest European, so you're probably not including Britain or England in that, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're part of Europe.
So would you say Queen, Def Leppard?
Hard rock. I think they labeled them. I read somewhere that they were basically like the, you know, maybe it was heavy metal.
Well, I think they were a little more complex than maybe some other bands. I mean, their guitar work to me really stood out.
For sure.
And I don't know if it's, and it wasn't really flashy. I don't even know that it was flashy, but it was more complex than a lot of other bands that you were hearing.
And super proficient.
Yeah.
And it wasn't over the top.
Right.
It was what served the song without being too flashy.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
There's no layering here either, is there?
I don't think so.
It doesn't need to be with two guitars.
Like a third or fourth guitar.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
All right. We're moving on to Arizona. How do you guys feel about this song?
To me, this is the one that should have been a single.
You think so? This is the one.
I think because it's their most melodic song. It was very radio friendly, I think. Poppy. It could have been, it's kind of poppy. I don't think I ever heard it on the radio.
They had a video out for it.
Yeah, they did, which was interesting. But
I wrote down in my notes, perhaps the most pop song of the bunch.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I really dig the beginning though, with the left and right channel. That was cool.
This was written by the drummer, by the way.
Yes.
He wrote a lot of this.
Herman.
But I don't know if I think it was him who had the relationship to a lady from Arizona, and Klaus Meine was talking about this, I think, and he said, oh, they swing by there and they really liked it. And of course they play it every time they're in Arizona. You know?
Yeah.
I thought, are they pandering to Arizona? I don't know, just having a song with like a state name in there.
Pandering to the fans.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that, right?
I remember a friend of mine saying, what's your favorite song on the album? And at the time, mine was Blackout. And he's like, mine's Arizona. And I'm like, Arizona? I'm not sure what song that is.
Go back and listen to the album.
Yeah, I had to go back and listen. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's catchy. Hooky.
It does stand out in my mind because it's like the happiest sounding song on there. Yep. It's not moody like the other songs.
And that's why I think it should have been a single. Yeah. I think it would have done well as a single.
Might have attracted an audience that hadn't even they hadn't even touched prior to that.
But No One Like You also was a good single because that I think reached a broader audience than many of these other songs would not have.
You got the headbangers and the I even remember in high school.
It's heavy enough for the headbangers and light enough for the ladies.
Exactly. I was just gonna say that the girls liked that song too. It was very popular. What?
Light enough for the ladies.
Light enough, yeah.
All right. Speaking opposite of light.
Yeah.
Let's get into China White.
Okay.
This is probably one of my favorite songs in the album. And I don't recall hearing this because I didn't have the album, but man, after I played this, even the first time, I'm like, this song rocks. It's got such a good build-up. Maybe a little on the long side, but I think it's just a good long jam.
Yeah, that was I like it too. I was kind of on the fence on the length. Did it go too long?
It's almost 7 minutes.
Yeah. And does this song remind you guys of any other song?
Oh, maybe on the previous album.
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
To me, it was like the Zoo is very successful, guys. Why didn't you guys write a song like the Zoo? And this is
not the Zoo again.
Right.
Yeah, kind of like.
I think the Zoo's choruses are a little more, I don't know what the right word is. This is darker than the Zoo.
It's darker. And I think the Zoo is a better song.
I do too.
Yeah.
And which makes sense. It's like, well, okay, we already did that song. We got to write the song again. Well, it's not going to be as good as the original. But anyway, I just saw those two tied together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that down as well, but it is my absolute favorite on the album. And I just love the kind of transfixing, moody, grinding feel.
Definitely.
All the way through. And I said that No One Like You is classic. This too is classic, but in a different way.
Classic to their sound, their earlier sound.
Yeah, for sure. And it's what would be the right term? Well, anyway.
I thought lyrically too, this is the best. I mean, a lot of the other songs are pretty shallow.
For sure.
Lyrically. Yeah. This one was, I thought was pretty good. Anti-war kind of a song, good versus evil kind of.
And this is one that has some really odd timing to the guitar too, which is really, I find really attractive.
Oh, yeah.
But it also kind of catches you off guard a little bit, and you're like, "Ooh, where's the beat? What's going on?"
Yeah.
Do you know who the lead
guitarist?
Yeah. No, I wonder who invented that. What I think is a really moody, cool riff. Is that Schenker? Is that Yabs?
I don't know.
I guess what I was going to say before is this one puts them on the verge of metal more so to me than pop rock.
The pop rock, yeah. Definitely. I don't think this song is metally though. Metal is a little more flashy.
Well, the fast metal, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
More Black Sabbath influence.
I would go with that, yeah.
Schenker has lead guitar in this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about his estranged brother? I don't know if they're estranged, but
as good a time as any.
Hey, yeah.
I don't think it was Michael
Schenker. Yeah. I mean, super accomplished guitarist, was in the band
UFO. Okay. UFO. I was just kidding.
Oh, UFO. Yeah. Yeah. And actually auditioned for Aerosmith when Joe Perry left in, was it late 70s, early 80s, before Night in the Ruts came out. And after Randy Rhoads' death, Ozzy Osbourne recruited Michael Schenker, to replace Rhoads. nobody's quite sure who didn't like each other.
Really?
Yeah. Michael Schenker is, I would say, maybe a little bit egotistic.
Yeah.
Maybe more than a little bit. But is still playing shows quite often, mostly smaller venues, and still sounds great. Does a lot of those UFO songs. And
Do you remember the story in Van Halen Rising about him?
No.
Van Halen was going to open up for UFO, I think, really early, small club. And Eddie didn't really have a lot of confidence. And so David Lee Roth was really getting it. He's like, you're the best. You're the blah, 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 blah. So they're in the bathroom, and Eddie's in there and Michael's in there. And Eddie says something to him like, I'm going to, however he said it, show you up tonight. I'm going to blow you away and all this. And it freaked Michael out. And he went out when he came out, and after seeing Van Halen play, he got on stage and he lost it. He couldn't play. It just freaked him out.
Wow. Really got in his head.
Totally got in his head.
what movie was that in?
No, this wasn't a movie.
Or
this was
documentary?
a book.
A
It was
book.
a book,
Okay.
Van Halen Rising.
Huh.
You would
Yeah.
like that book, Lance.
You
Yeah,
would.
that's a read.
It's a
That.
really good, cool read. Cool read.
So yeah.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the David Lee Roth pep talk worked.
Oh yeah. Eddie was just he was so fired up that he
But
freaked out the other guitarists.
wow.
And then, like I said, after him seeing Eddie play, he's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the band is like, what did you do to him?
I think there's some
No
other
apologies.
stories. I don't know who, but there's some other stories about, after Eddie Van Halen debuted, some of the other guitarists said, I'm done.
I know. Yeah.
Or if you're Rudolf Schenker, you just kind of took some of that and ran with it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
A quick note about this song before we move on to When the Smoke is Going Down. So China White, there are two different solos for this because
Plenty of time for it.
well, no. Two different versions, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
versions,
on the
yeah.
US and European release because Schenker he was torn on which the guitar solos to use on the final track. And so the US version has a slightly different version than European version.
I'm
I
gonna have
couldn't
to
tell you
look
the
that
difference,
up.
but yeah.
I want to hear that now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Last track, When the Smoke is Going Down. I put a bold move ending with a ballad. We kind of talked about the ballad thing.
I think it set the stage for the future for this band. As we've been talking about, Wind of Change, Still Loving You, it
Yeah.
is right in that sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, a decent ballad, but I'm not a ballad guy, so I don't have a lot to
Yeah.
say about it.
I think it was reminiscent of, they were doing this. They had Holiday before, which is kind of, what was another earlier one? So, they were known for doing these types of songs and having a couple of these maybe on an album. So, but yeah, nothing really stood out to me on this one. Yeah, it's a fine song, but I don't have a lot to say about it.
Agree.
Yeah. All right. It's time to give our personal rating of this album then from 0 to 10. Brian obviously hasn't thought about that until
don't.
just now.
It seems like I never think of this before we come to these, which is kind of good because after the discussion and stuff,
Yeah. Maybe your rating will change.
it does change.
Yeah.
It does change.
Yeah.
Man, I love this album. I've, bought it when I was 12 years old and I listen to it still. I'm going to go 8.
Ooh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm going 8.
Lance, how are you doing?
I like the album a lot. I don't think it's a classic in the genre, but it's really good metal, pop metal. What are we calling it?
Heavy
I don't
metal.
know.
Heavy metal.
Heavy rock.
It's not pop metal.
No.
But it's fits whatever genre they want to be in, and it's great. I hadn't listened to it in quite a while, to be honest. I was expecting it to be a little more than what I found. And being only 9 songs, I'm hesitant to go super high on my rating. I'm in between a 6 and 7, probably. Leaning
it'd be-
closer to the 7.
So that'd be a 6.5.
Yeah, I think so. We go back and forth if we want to give decimal points.
Yep.
It's a really, really good album, but if I were going to go back, I would probably rate Animal Magnetism a little higher than this. But that's just because I had it first, and there's a lot of great metal albums in the 80s, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm hesitant to go too high.
But see, when I rate these, I rate it on the album itself. I don't rate it comparing it to other albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can't. I mean, there's thousands of records out there. So you got to do it based on the album. Would you drop the needle on that again?
Brian is trying to talk you into a higher rating, I think.
I am.
Yeah. Improve our average.
Because
He doesn't agree with your 6.5. You can do with your 6.5.
Move it to 7.
Are you officially moving
Do I
to
hear
7 now?
Do I hear 7?
Sure. Why not?
Thank you.
These don't mean anything anyway.
Nope.
No one's keeping track.
Except for with an
Except
F
for us.
when we leave and we all get in fist fights out
Yeah.
there.
You
gave it an 8. You no way.
Seriously, man? 6.5?
Really?
You're going down. It's go time. I am an 8 as well. And I agree with you about Animal Magnetism because I owned that one first as well. And I have a greater affinity just because I listened to that. I know all the songs on that one.
Yeah, same.
This one grew on me as I was listening to it, preparing for this though. And so many of the songs that I was totally unfamiliar with, I'm like, these are really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could find myself listening to this as much as Animal Magnetism then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially China White. I adore that song.
Yeah.
I just love that song.
Agree 100%. And that song probably shot me to that 7 as I think about it. But with only 9 tracks and 2 of them being ballads, and I'm not a big ballad guy, it's really hard to go much higher for me.
We're going to do an album coming up. Actually, an episode of just all ballads, I think, just for Lance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right? That'd be good.
Power ballads.
Power ballads.
Ballads.
Yeah.
All our favorite bands.
KTEL International.
They release an album like that? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
No, it would not be. All right, guys, it's time for Remember When. This is a segment where I ask Brian and Lance their thoughts about something we grew up with, but may no longer be around today. Today's item, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a drum roll or anything.
I'm really ready because
Okay.
I love this section, Dave. This is good stuff.
Jean jackets.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have one? And did you wear it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right
I
on.
figured.
I've had more than one.
Yes.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. Well, originally they're both Levi's, of course.
Have
course.
to be Levi's.
And-
Is there any other brand?
Come on.
I'm guessing.
Wrangler.
I'm guessing there probably was.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
But the first one I had, actually, I've had 3. If you want to call a corduroy jean jacket a jean jacket, because I had a corduroy one too.
I'm
That
gonna
was
say
really
no.
nice.
Brian and I got to vote on that. I
No.
would say no.
Yeah, but
You can count it if you want.
Same style. But yeah, I had one originally that it was just the traditional Levi's, but then I had one of those with the kind of
That woolly fur.
woolly fur on the
Oh,
inside.
one of those
yeah,
too.
A winter variety.
Yeah.
You had one at college.
I
Did you have it at college?
I don't know if I had that one. If I brought
I
that
remember
one
the
here.
furry one.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
well then
go
maybe
ahead.
I did.
Yeah, go ahead, Lance.
Yeah.
It's a total classic look.
It
I
was.
mean, and there were at times maybe when the collar was flipped up and
Yeah.
At times in your earlier days.
yeah,
High school?
When I want to say that was maybe midnight or no, I want to say that was mid '80s
Yeah.
college days for
Yeah.
me, and you'd wear that with jeans that were rolled up in penny loafers and
Yep.
looked just like John Cougar Mellencamp did. Didn't quite have the hair, but yeah, jean jackets were great. And maybe they're still around.
I had,
They are.
that same one with the woolly fur stuff in it. And when I got to the point where I wasn't wearing it anymore, I gave it to my sister and I said, hey, maybe one of your boys, Michael or Dustin, when they get older would like this. And she's like, okay.
She was not on board, huh?
I guess I thought, well, this is a cool jacket.
Yeah.
Would they like to wear this? So, and then I had just the jean jacket, but it was a light blue one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like the acid wash kind of version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember wearing that one a lot. And then I lost it. I left it somewhere and disappeared. I remember writing on the inside of it with those like fluorescent paints.
On the inside.
In the inside of the jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could like whip it out and had little stuff written in there.
Wow. Show off a message to someone. Custom. So
I think I've seen some that were embroidered on the back too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe band names.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your gang that you belonged to in high school.
I remember a guy had one, and he had written on the back of it, "Death by Popcorn."
Oh, man, come on.
Wow. Trying to imagine that.
Come on.
Now I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
Yeah. Well, watch out.
Oh, man. I hope he didn't pay too much to have someone do that, or if he did it himself. So I had the earliest recollection I can have is probably having one in about 7th grade.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year, 83, somewhere around there, 84. Yeah. They were pretty popular. There was obviously a number of them in high school. Your friends and acquaintances had them. There was 2 different ones that I can recall by 2 different people who really stood out for the jean jacket wearing stuff. Of course, he had that friend who had like a bazillion buttons and pins and all this stuff on them.
Patches.
Right? Patches.
Yes. Yeah, Dave, right on.
But there were 2 people who had one even better than that, because one of them had drawn Jimi Hendrix, like a portrait of Jimi Hendrix in just pen on the back panel. You kind of a cool, big, huge swath of material on the back. Mm-hmm. But there was a guy in our high school who would get a new jean jacket, and he would have airbrushed whatever the current Iron Maiden album cover was on the back.
Yeah.
So he had, during my time there, was probably 2 or maybe 3 different ones, but it looks so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool just to have that level of artistic art on the back. They're really cool.
I think that's a American Icon, the jean jacket.
Yeah.
It's probably, they probably have jean jackets in the Smithsonian somewhere. Levi's.
The original.
That just reminded me of the band patches. I kind of forgot about that. You'd have just all sorts of them sewn all over these jean jackets.
I loved patches.
Yeah.
There was a patch vendor at the state fair, and you could buy them and put them on your jean jackets, or you could make a hat.
Yeah.
And
did you buy a Scorpions one?
I think I bought a Def Leppard one once. I'm not sure about Scorpions.
Yeah. I'll go back home and check your jean jacket.
Yeah, with Brian, I probably can't find it anymore.
No, I don't have. But I did just see recently some Instagram thing or something. I can't remember, but it was just going through all these band patches.
Oh, really?
There's like 100 of them.
Wow.
And you'd hit some of the bands like Aerosmith, and they might have, 4 or 5 different ones. And the graphics on them were not usually that great, but it was neat to see.
Because it's all embroidered. It's hard to get a lot of detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And a lot of the band logos were very intricate. I'm going to blow your minds. How about band belt buckles? Do you remember the belt buckles?
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay. So this was about 79, 80. And I know I had a Boston one. I had a Styx one. Probably had a Kansas one
Belt buckles?
Yeah. So
I did not know those even existed.
Well, yeah. I don't think Dave and I were even walking at this time.
No, probably not.
Because I'm a little older than you guys. No, they used to make belts where they'd snap off and you could switch out belt buckles.
I do remember those,
Yep.
but the bands I don't remember.
Yeah. And they were very colorful and kind of maybe iridescent, and the oval. They were super, super cool. I wish I would have kept them.
All right, guys, that'll do it for today. In our next episode, we're talking about another really great album, the 1985 release by Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms.
Ooh, that's right.
That's going to be an awesome one.
Cool.
Looking forward to it.
If you missed our previous episode, we talked about our first impressions of music, the stuff our parents listened to and we grew up with. It was a great walk down memory lane, and I know that more than a few people commented on and liked it. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go back and check it out.
If you've enjoyed this episode, or maybe even just tolerated it, would you please do us a favor and share the episode link with a friend to help spread the word about When Records Ruled. Also, let us know what album or topic you'd like to hear us talk about during a future episode.
And if you're a fan of the show, we'd love for you to leave us a review. A 5-star review would be great. I know they're kind of hard to find where the stars are, but if you can find the stars, please click on all of them.
Keep at it if you can't find it.
Yes.
5 stars all the way.
Can you click the 5th one first, or do you have to go one at a time?
No,
Fifth,
no.
You just go jump right to 5.
Jump
One
right
tap,
to 5.
friends. One tap. And
1 through 4 don't
That's
exist. Always 5.
You can also follow us and leave us comments on Instagram and Facebook at When Records Ruled, where you can see all sorts of goodies and pictures that Dave's going to throw up there for you to enjoy.
Yep.
Might be a little bit something on the Remember When segment, or who knows. But check it out. Check out the Spotify playlist also, where you can find all the albums that we've discussed on this podcast. And remember, we are not professional music critics. We're just 3 guys who like talking music.
That's right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Rock and roll.